Good evening, everyone. Uh, Welcome to the second webinar of the Avni webinar series. In the last session, we had a very brief introduction to Avni, and we had Dr. Dhiren Modi,
Fine. So should I WhatsApp you or WhatsApp?
public sector business in Gujarat. We did a really good session, and we ended the session with the new features that we introduced. My name is Vinay Venu. I work at Samanvay Foundation, a non-profit tech organization based in Bangalore. At Samanvay, we strive to focus our skills and to build technology solutions for the development sector in India. And Avni is one of our most interesting projects. It's an open source community service and data collection platform. Now about today's business, we have quite a few new faces among the attendees. So we did give a brief introduction of Avni last time, but I'm not, since we have a very new group, what I was thinking is we'll have a really short 10-minute introduction to Avni, just so that everybody knows what we are talking about. And after that, we'll have a session by Shelter Associates. Followed by which we'll do as we did last time. We'll talk about all the new features that came in this month. Now, a few things before we start. The first is that this meeting is being recorded. The recording will be sent to everyone after the webinar, and it will also be uploaded to YouTube just in case you want to take a look at it at a later point in time. And the second is that if you have any questions, so as we said, there are three phases to it. The first is about Avni. The second is the case study by Shelter Associates, and the third is the feature overview, or basically the new features for this month. If you have any questions, you can either use the Q&A section when the session is going on, or raise your hand and I will unmute you to speak. So we want this to be interactive. So if you raise your hand, we'll definitely, I'll make sure that you get a chance to speak. Now, with that out of the way, I invite Arjun Khandelwal, the product owner of Avni, to give a brief introduction of Avni and Samanvay. Over to you, Arjun.
Thanks, Vinay. Just checking, am I audible?
Yes, Arjun, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'll just start introducing about Samanvay. At Samanvay is a not-for-profit software development company. We are based out of Bangalore. We develop software products and projects for organizations working in the development sector. One of the major things that we've been working at Samanvay is developing this product called as Avni, and helping various organizations implement this in their field programs. I will share my screen. My screen is visible, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, I'll quickly now jump on to introducing the Avni product, so that I think everyone is oriented for this the next segments coming up. So I think to introduce Avni product, first I would like to explain how we see the community, a sample community program. So typically there are clients which can be households, individuals, maybe in some cases there are trees like this. And then there are community workers who interact with these clients or record data of these clients. There are supervisors or facilitators who do supportive supervision of these community workers. Then there are program coordinators who are responsible right from about designing the programs to be run on the field, regularly monitoring the indicators, success indicators of the program through reports and by doing analysis. And sometimes when there is either paper-based or digital MIS, etc. Involved, there are also data entry operators. So what Avni does, I mean, we've been focusing on the needs of all these different users or different roles involved in such community programs. And through Avni, we've been trying how we can help uh, uh, become a job aid in the work that these different users or roles perform in the program. So for example, Avni has an Android app that works completely offline and supports the work of field workers, including the frontline workers and then supervisors. Then there is a web application for like program coordinators and designers. I mean, there is an admin component through which user and location management can be done. There is even an app designer. So depending upon the capacity available, capacity and capability available, the application can be designed completely by the organization NGO themselves. There is also a translation management system. So I mean, all the app can be converted into multiple languages. Then there is a data entry application, online data entry application, which helps either the data entry operators or even the program coordinators and project managers to view and review the case records and maybe do data correction and quality checks as well. And then there is reporting and dashboard that we set up custom reporting and dashboard that we set up to have data visualized in various forms like tables or charts. And I mean, so that the project managers can make maximum sense of what is going on in the program. And thus, Avni is a comprehensive platform to create job aid applications and beneficiary MIS in such programs. So there is support for groups and groups, households, and individual based programs. Like you see on the screen, in the first screenshot, there is a household along with members that is being shown over there, and individual members are enrolled into different programs. On the right, the second screenshot displays an individual dashboard which has like an individual enrolled into multiple programs. So and from a field workers perspective, I mean, there are forms that can be set up, configured in Avni with all standard data types so that they can collect data and all the functions to support collecting this data in a usable manner, like skip logic, etc. And also doing validation at the source, like validation checks are there that can be implemented. But we've been not just focused on data collection. Like I said earlier, the objective is how the work of these field workers can be made easier. So there are features like automatic calculations, highlighting when there are no values or abnormal values added in the system, added in the application, and like detection of high risk conditions or vulnerability, etc. These can be implemented via rules that can be written, configured per project in the platform. There are decision support abilities. For example, one example of decision support again here is like scheduling visits. So rules can be written to schedule visits based on the protocol, and then these scheduled visits automatically generates a task list for the field workers to guide their work. This helps them manage their overall workload. And usually what without a system like this, what happens is then that otherwise the team has to gather, let's say at the end of every month, and then decide, okay, what all work we have done and now what all work that we have to do in next month. So a lot of time goes otherwise in planning. There are features, health specific features also that are there in Avni, because Avni, I mean, a lot of implementations projects of Avni have been in the health sector. So there are some features that come out of the box, like you can configure a vaccination schedule, and a checklist like this shown in the first screenshot shows up, or there is a growth chart that gets plotted automatically if there is a height and weight that are captured in the forms. There are like ability to configure offline indicators for which can help field workers make maximum sense of the data. This feature, in fact, we've recently introduced. Otherwise, there was only, I mean, the typical use case had been that there are reports and analytics provided only to the project managers. But in our pursuit to like empower the frontline workers, this has been a recent addition to the system. The app is completely multilingual, and I mean, within the same app, in fact, users can use in multiple languages. This, for example, here shows the same screen in English and Gujarati. There is ability to set up reports, different visualizations, aggregate reports, line lists, then drill downs that can be done, and various visualizations. So there are about 20 organizations who are using Avni across the country in different, through different projects that they are doing on the ground. Some of the use cases or applications where Avni has been used, one, like I said, a dominant area has been health. So we, for example, have a few organizations who've set up complete community health projects like they are doing, and they have digitized using Avni. Or like even individual programs that they are doing, for example, just maternal and child health, or adolescent, or just tuberculosis. I mean, even single vertical programs that they are doing on the field, they're using Avni to help them in their work. In non-health sector, we have like rejuvenating water bodies project that we did. Once we had done in 2019, and then another we just starting, where the project is being rolled out in Rajasthan, Maharashtra and Karnataka. There is like Hasirudala, who's working with social security in Karnataka, Andhra and Tamil Nadu. They've been using it. And of course, we are going to hear a lot about shelter from the shelter team. They are using it in the domain of affordable housing and sanitation. We've been lucky to have many fantastic individuals and companies supporting us, and during this development, Social Alpha and Tech for Dev. Social Alpha has helped us through funding in the initial days. Tech for Dev has been a fantastic collective through which we have learned a lot, and Soft Corner and Persistent Systems have helped us through source codes. One question that would often come is, how do we use this platform? Avni is completely open source, so you can take it, and then if you have the technical skills in-house, you can deploy it all by yourself. Otherwise, Samanvay provides a cloud hosting. The data center is based out of India, and it is completely self-serviceable. So if you have semi kind of technical capacity, not a lot of developers in-house, but you have one or two, and then they can do implementation kind of work. So then you can, you just head on to Avni website, you sign up over there, and then start self-servicing, like setting up forms and then deploying, etc. Otherwise, Samanvay provides all the services that are required to make Avni operational on the field, right from product training, customization, migrating data from an existing system, or integration with other software, and then continuing to support once the app is rolled out. That's all that I have about to share, or as a quick overview about Avni. Thanks. Vinay, over to you.
Thank you, Arjun. All right. So in this session, we wanted to do a little deep dive on the Avni implementation by Shelter Associates. Shelter Associates is a civil society organization from Maharashtra. They've been working since 1993 to improve the living conditions of urban poor in India. They work in slums and informal settlements to provide technical support for and facilitate access to improved housing and essential services. Now, this is a very special implementation of Avni from Avni's perspective, because of two reasons. One is that the implementation of this whole project was undertaken by somebody completely outside. Soft Corner, an IT company, took up the implementation of Avni as well as everything associated with Shelter Associates. So we're really interested that we're really happy that there are other companies who are picking up Avni implementations and are able to deliver it. So that's like a milestone for us. The second specialty about this is that it's not just Avni. The software solution that they've come up with is an integration between Avni and some really cool visualizations that you will see in their demo. The panelists here we have today are Pratima Joshi, Smita Kale, and Amar Kante. Pratima is the executive director of Shelter Associates, and she's one of the very few visionaries who recognized issues around provision of safe access to basic services such as water, sanitation, social housing, waste management, over 2 decades before today's focus on urban planning and development. Her knowledge as an architect and her passion for ensuring equitable distribution of rights and resources to all, leading to an upgraded lifestyle for the urban poor, led her to establish Shelter Associates in 1993. She's a recipient of the Aga Khan Scholarship and an expert in building design for developing countries through her master's in architecture from London-based Bartlett School of Architecture and Planning. Pratima is the only Indian to receive Google Earth Hero Award, identified by BBC as a leading slum architect of India and recognized as a social entrepreneur by Ashoka Fellowship. Pratima has pioneered her approach by using concepts like multi-stakeholder consultation, user-centric design, and participative governance. An architect turned into an influential social entrepreneur, Pratima has successfully empowered communities and has elevated quality of life for the urban poor in India. The second panelist we have is Smita Kale, who works as the monitoring and evaluation manager at Shelter Associates. With more than 21 years of experience and a master's in statistics, Smita brings to the table exceptional skills in research, teaching, consulting, and analysis. Smita has been with Shelter Associates since 2015 as the monitoring and evaluation manager, where she leads the organization's data collection, mapping, and analysis efforts, and is constantly involved in experimenting with new data-related projects for increasing the organization's impact. Before Shelter Associates, she has handled data modeling, analysis, and management in a range of different organizational setups, government offices, such as the State Family Welfare Bureau and the Government of Maharashtra, educational institutes, including Pune University, Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, to corporate offices like New Vista Strategies Incorporated and OrgMar, equipping her with a well-rounded understanding of how data can be leveraged to interest different stakeholders of Shelter Associates' work. The third panelist we have is Amar Kante from Soft Corner. He's an experienced web developer with a demonstrated history of working in the computer software industry. Amar would be talking to us more about the technical aspects of the solution with Shelter Associates. Now with that, over to you, Pratima.
Pratima, you are on mute.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. So thank you very much for the introduction, Vinay. I'm really happy and excited to be on this panel because it is talking data. Very rarely I get to be on a panel which is, they're going to be discussing data or which is organized around data. And as you rightly said, our data journey began really, really long ago. It's been over 2 decades that we've been doing data, and that's really the USP of our organization. And so it's really very close to our heart. Data has, made the organization really grow. It's been a huge, steep learning curve and bringing in new insights. And I thought, like today, let me give a brief background as to why we even embarked upon something that we had never thought we would need to do. While Smita, my colleague, can give you all the nitty-gritties of how we migrated from paper surveys to Avni. She can go into those kind of technical details. But for us, when we started our journey in 93, 94 in slums, out of this vision that we wanted to make a difference in the quality of life of the urban poor, of course, the first impediment was data, because we realized there was hardly anything that we could fall back on. There was hardly anything which was going to assist us to start even looking at where the gaps were in delivering services that we thought we would like to make available for the urban poor. Services like you and I take for granted, whether it's water, electricity, sanitation, or even a decent dwelling. And that's where we said that, we need to really be on top of it. And the only way we can be on top of it is by actually engaging with creating data. And then being very spatial people, as architects, we want to view data spatially. So the first technology that we really leveraged way back in the late 90s was the GIS technology, because that would give us a good idea of how the slum was laid out spatially, where the services were, whether the community services were located in places which made access to it easier, so on and so forth. So the data journey began with paper surveys, going on to the field, mapping slums. We started with Pune, of course, and today we are working in more than 7 cities, and we're doing data for all the cities where we've been working. But one thing that we realized, that for anything to be acceptable, for anything to be leveraged and used by stakeholders, it was important that you co-create it, because that builds in confidence. So we just didn't go there and start doing data by ourselves. We said, let us involve the communities. So in the first surveys that we carried out, which were paper-based, we actually trained the community people to gather their own data in their own settlements. And of course, the quality of data was very, very good, because it was being done by the people themselves. Of course, when we migrated to other technologies, today we're using Android phones and whatnot. It's not always very easy to engage with them, but as far as possible, we have made sure that this data is owned by all the stakeholders who would be eventually leveraging it. So we have the communities, we have the government also co-creating this data with us. So how do they do it? Whatever we put out, we get the municipal corporations to validate it, because they are involved in the process of validating that data, that there is a certain comfort that they draw from it. They know that this is something which is correct and which they can leverage. So I always talk about this 3 C's when it comes to data. First thing is that it brings in a lot of clarity. Second thing, it brings in a lot of confidence, because people have been involved in it. And the third thing is, of course, it leads to commitment towards actually doing something on the ground. So we have leveraged data, as Vinay said, for sanitation and housing in a big way. Today, we have been able to reach out to over 22,000 slum households with a home toilet. And while doing that, we actually involved even the government to lay drainage network. So there was a whole infrastructure mapping that we did with this data. And a lot of funding was leveraged, because this data was in place. It gave so much clarity. We knew exactly where we had to go, whom we had to reach out to, which were the gaps that needed to be plugged. Otherwise, I always tell people that, it's like having a beautiful building without a foundation. So the data is really the driving force for anything that you on the ground. If you don't have clarity about the ground situation, then you are never going to come out with anything which is going to be sustainable, in the long run. And just to give you an example of within the sanitation sector, where we've been working for almost 20 years now, the cities have been giving community toilets to everyone. Every time they inaugurate a community toilet, it looks spanking and clean and lovely. And within a few months, it just starts crumbling. And maintenance becomes a huge issue. That's because governments, cities have never invested in data to understand what do the people want. And one of the shocking revelations across cities was that when we ran the survey, the rapid household survey, that over 70% families living in slums said, yes, we want a household toilet. That is something that was never captured. So this is where I find that a data-driven approach is a very sound approach. and and leads to very, very sustainable projects. So we've done housing, we've done sanitation, we've done water, and we've even done ration cards. So the last 20 years have been very exciting. We are now looking to seeing how governments can hold this data, how we can institutionalize data in a way that governments will start building on it. They will use it on a day-to-day basis, update it. And that's why it's wonderful to be engaging with different people and leveraging the Avni system, so that, when we finally hand over data, they don't feel threatened by it. They find it user-friendly, and they're more accepting. So I think that's where I'll hand over the baton to my colleague Smita, who can then take you through the more technical part of the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pratima ma'am. I'll just start with from where Pratima ma'am has said that we have shifted from paper pen surveys to now we are using Avni. So about our journey, I'll just tell you briefly, and then how we'll go into some of the details. So in our early days, we started with the paper pen surveys because there was the technology was not easily available and not affordable also at that time. So we trained the community people and we did the surveys with them. And but another thing is, with the advance in technology, we thought that paper pen surveys are not a good idea. So we shifted to a software, but that was not an open source software. It was a proprietary software. It was developed in-house, but that was very simple, just the data collection. There was nothing more facilities were available. Then we came across a Kobo Collect application, which is very simple and easy to use. And we wanted to use open source platform being an NGO. So we started with a Kobo Collect 3 years ago, and we just started developing the forms into it, and it was easy for us initially because not many forms were there. But as and when we entered into new cities, we had to generate the different forms. We had to generate the data set was getting added, and then there was a need, since it was a simple form, we can design the form, but there was no facility of editing the existing data. We came across some limitations, and then we came to know about the Avni platform. So that is how then we shifted to Avni last year, and now we are migrating our data to Avni, and now we have started using full in Kolhapur and Pune. So here you can see the screenshots from Kobo Collect. So we were able to generate the different forms, and for each city we have to design a different form. Even for the same household, we have to have the different forms depending on the different services we provide. So that was our limitation, and it was getting very complicated. So we thought of using Avni for that. Let's take it next. Yeah, so briefly I'll explain how the design was. Since initially we just started with the basic household surveys, and for detailed socioeconomic survey we used to do the paper pen surveys. But now when we started with the Kobo, we felt that for one household we need to have all the detailed information. It is not just the sanitation or the basic information, but we need to add on the data sets depending on the different sectors. We started with the electricity, facility of electricity, water connection, waste management, property tax, and even we wanted to monitor our daily projects also. So for example, when we deliver our sanitation program, we give the construction material to our beneficiaries in slums. So we need to monitor whether they are using it or not, whether the construction is on mark or not. Everything we have to monitor, and our field workers are monitoring it, but they need to communicate it to the head office also, how the things are going on. Is there any issue with that? So everything daily activities also we need to record and monitor it. So we felt that Avni provides this menu of option. you know, like, so this is how we actually, as Arjun earlier said, that most of their partners or they are using are from health sectors. So initially we were like, how to fit in this format, like, because we are using it for a totally different sector. So then Arjun helped us to understand it, the system properly. And then with Amar and Arjun, we then started thinking how we can create the forms and how we can organize in the setup. So then what we did that we generated a basic registration for a household. Because what happens in health, it is for individual, you know, like maternal and child health. So you monitor a pregnant woman and then for child, it continues. But here, something different. So for a household, we want to monitor, like starting with the data collection, then we provide the services, we monitor that, we have to update that data also. Like, for example, when we do the survey, we came to know, okay, these are the households, they don't have the sanitation facility at house. So then we provide the construction material for them to build the toilet. The toilets get built, then we have to monitor and we have to update that data also. So that is very helpful with the Avni software. And now our field workers don't have to go back to another form, fill the, okay, this toilet is completed, then go to another form to fill the fact sheet, like they have to capture the photos and record the basic information. So in Kobo, all the forms were different. But now here for one household, it is connected. Like from registration, recording the data, till the fact sheet is done. Even now we can include the financials also. So everything is included in that, and that can be accommodated in this design. So like, you know, different advantages, as I said, that even the Kobo was very easy initially to use. But when we shifted to Avni, we realized that, okay, designing of the forms can be done easily with minimal you know, coding knowledge. Offline data collection is available, and most importantly, ability to search, view the existing records. Like, for example, if a surveyor is doing a survey for, say, 100 households, and sometimes they don't remember, okay, this for this household, the data is already recorded or not. So they can search that particular record, see whether it is the data entry is done or not. And if there are any changes in the data, they can update it on the spot and then send it back to the server. So the data collection is offline, but it gets synchronized with the data on the server as well. So this is how it has been now. Our field workers are really very happy that they can do this. It's very systematically also. They can check their data once it is filled. And even in the desktop application is also available. So supervisors also can check the data and communicate with the field workers. And as I earlier said, that we are collecting the data for different sectors. So eventually what Pratima ma'am said, that we want to hand over the data to ULBs because we want to institutionalize data and want them to use it. So if, like, for example, we are collecting the data for a property tax, water department, sanitation differently, then we can hand it over the data as per their requirement, and they can store it at their end, and they can update the data also. So once the services are delivered, they can update it into those form. Like shelter associates, it's not giving the water connections, but ULB is giving the water connections. So if they have a data, access to data, then they can update those records, and then it can be used, like they can get a real-time data for their purpose also. So these are some advantages that we came across, and we are that is how we are continue to using the Avni. Another thing is the control access. Like, since the data sets is available, but I can control the access, like which area should I give to which surveyor. So those admin things and access controls are also available, so that it makes it easy for data management also, and the quality control and the privacy issues also are protected. So here are some snapshots, like our data collectors, the surveyors. During COVID time also, we did some surveys, and they are using the Android phone. for collecting the data. So they're very happy now to use this. Initially, it was like, okay, this is another new software has come, and they were a little worried about how to use that. But now they are very comfortable and happy using that. So going ahead, the data collection part is there, but we already had a system developed at our end for integrating data, because we are generating the spatial maps also using the GIS technology, and the household level surveys are also there. So integrating the data with the GIS platform and then generating the reports, generating the dashboards, that was another task that we were doing with the Kobo data. So we wanted to make sure that, okay, this platform Omni will support that also. So this is the end-to-end monitoring system we have already in place. And I'm very happy to share that the Omni platform has been very flexible, that we can use Omni data for our existing tools also. And I'll just give you, this is the snapshot from our website. So we have generated the data sets for these cities, and this gives you the statistical data as on the dashboard and the spatial data on the maps also. So for both the visualization techniques, the Omni data is compatible, and we can share this. Amar will take you through the technical details of it, like how it was compatible and how we could integrate it. But because without disturbing the existing system, we can use the Omni data sets. So this is the spatial data, as I was saying, that it is also available on our website. So you can see that this is the particular slum in Kolhapur, and these are the menu of option and the layers. So all this data is connected. Like, for example, it is showing 516 households have their own toilet. So all this data is collected from Omni, and now it is connected to the spatial data on this web platform. So this is another thing. And this is, as I said, the statistical data, the dashboard that shows the overall picture of that city. You can drill down to electoral ward, you can slums, and all those things. So for everything, because it was already said, we had a system with Kobo data collecting. So it was concern that, okay, we are using Omni, but will the Omni data will be compatible to can be integrated to our existing systems? And we are doing that now. And this is like a daily monitoring and tracking sheets. We have our web application developed with the help of Soft Corner. And again, so input was from Kobo Collect. So the data was collected in Kobo and was connected to all these apps. But now we are able to connect it through Omni also, because we want to do the daily monitoring and activities. So everything is linked to that. So briefly, this is what we are doing it with the Omni, and it is very helpful for us. Even though we are not from the health sector, we are now successfully implemented this with the help of Soft Corner and Samanvay team. So I think I'll hand over to Amar for more technical things, and then we can have question answers session. Is that okay?
Yes, thanks a lot, Smita. I'll share my screen. Okay, you can see the screen?
Yes, Amar.
Okay. So we have developed a shelter application, like Smita showed the dashboard part and the map part. So that is developed using Python Django framework. We have a database at the back end, which is a Postgres database where all the records are been stored. The GIS data is also been stored over here in the database part. The recent change that we did was we changed the data collection tool. Initially, it was Kobo Toolbox. Now we are using Avni, and we have a Python script, cron job, where we pull data from Avni using the APIs, and we store it into our Postgres database. So this part is what we have changed. Initially, it used to pull it from the Kobo APIs. Now it is pulling data from Avni APIs and storing it into a Postgres database. Once the data has been stored into a Postgres database, it's then used for showing it on the dashboard and on the map part. Okay. So the next part was the data migration part. For data migration from Kobo to Avni, we didn't have to do a much scripting. We just had to replace the columns. We just have to map the columns from Kobo to Avni, and we had to create an Excel file, and this Excel file then can be uploaded to Avni platform. Which is just a bulk upload feature which is there in Avni. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you, Amar, Smita, and Pratima. Wait just a minute for questions, if anybody has any. In fact, I have 2 questions if nobody has.
When I see a hand raised there.
Archana, yes, you can speak now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi. So my question is actually for Shelter here. To give you some context, I'm actually studying urban planning in my master's, and my topic is to research on digital tools that improve participation in urban planning processes. I just wanted to ask that while I understood that the data from Avni could very easily be transferred into a GIS system to use for spatial analysis, I was wondering what the Shelter application exactly does. Is it an application that is used to view data and kind of overlay layers, or is it something that also does analytical functions like you can do in GIS, for example?
No, it's just viewing the data. We don't do analysis as such. But yeah, the data means the GIS data and the data that has been collected in Avni can be means we can generate a KML file, and that can be further used for analysis in the GIS softwares.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just to add to what Amar said, that I mean, you cannot do the GIS analysis access on the web application, but we have different layers which are uploaded on the website, our website. If you go to our special data, you can see that you can choose the different layers and you can analyze the data based on that. So that is like a tool, I would say tool itself. You cannot generate the new things, but whatever is there existing, you can view it and you can see which are the houses, and especially you can analyze the situation there.
Right.
So another question, would it, for example, be possible to use this data in another open source application, for example, that could do analysis because it's open source?
I can answer that question. So essentially, Avni, right? It's a tool meant for collecting data and specifically longitudinal data about one specific person or thing over a period of time. Now, from a GIS point of view, if you're thinking about it, the only additional thing is that it also captures the lat long of the time when that interaction took place, or when something was registered or anything like that. Now, there is APIs that can be used to extract data out of Avni. So what that means is any system that needs data can pull this data from Avni and use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. Thank you.
There is one question in the chat box about the data modification and sync again on the server. Yeah, so if already data is collected and which is sitting on the server, then that can be fetched on the mobile application on ground, and then you can edit the data and you can save it, and then you can again sync it, then it will go on again on the server. Is that what you are looking for? Naveen.
Yeah, and just to, I mean, elaborate, see, especially in case of Avni, our philosophy has been that we don't want it to be limited just as a data collection tool. So what happens is in some of the tools, like even in Kobo, I think what happens is once you've submitted a form, it goes away from the mobile application. It's not anymore available to that surveyor, for example. But here the paradigm or the idea is different. Here the idea is that the field workers on the field should be able to track cases themselves actually. So all the data resides in that mobile application itself. So even though when for example I've collected a data related to a household, I have submitted to the server. Submitted meaning what happens is the data just on the mobile app syncs with the cloud server. It does not mean that I have pushed it from here and now it disappears from my mobile application. And that is how, if the data is already residing over there, I can just now again edit it and again sync it back to the cloud server. And that's how, I mean, either anyone sitting on the, I mean, accessing the browser based application data entry app, they can also modify the data over there, or even a frontline worker can modify the data, and this all gets pushed to the like cloud server. So I think I mean that's how they, all of them can track cases, edit those cases, etc.
Yeah, and it can be done from any place.
Yeah, mobile app include as well as the browser based online application.
A question from Dushyant. Dushyant. Dushyant, we can't really hear you very well. Would you be able to type your question in?
Can't hear you.
I'm audible?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm Dushyant from Save the Children, based in Gurgaon. So it's a very wonderful software, and I'm using. I'm a data analyst, and from in data field, I'm working from last 20 years from NFHS 3, and previously I used CS Pro for Android and desktop application for data compilation and data entry. But from last few years, I'm using Kobo platform, and it's working perfect. But the parent and child combination of forms are not in Kobo, but in CS Pro is there. But the coding is too tough in Kobo, so it's CS Pro, and but it is available in this Avni. My question is that the fee, the charges for the application is 30,000 is mentioned on web in your portal. So is the charges for every year or year is one time?
Arjun, can you
Hello.
respond to that?
Yeah, sure. So yes, Dushyant, that those charges that is mentioned over there, that is for Samanvay cloud hosting basically for 1 year. So it is applicable for every year, year on year basis. If you, for example, if the project is quite big and if you have the ability to take it and deploy by yourself, then of course, those charges won't apply. So these are Samanvay cloud hosting charges basically, and that's one component. And if you, like if you're self-servicing, then that is the only charge component that is applicable to you. For example, if you want to use like technical capacity either of Samanvay or Softcorner or any IT company, then yeah, of course, additional support charges or development charges and all of those will also be involved in setting up a tool like this.
We have an experience of developing the application and other thing, and also Save the Children have their own cloud-based server locations in India or other international. So if we want that we develop an application on Omni and deploy on our web cloud, so it is possible.
Yes.
And so after that, how much we have to pay for that? It is
So
same 30,000 or there are no cost?
No costs involved. Yeah.
There are no cost. Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, just one thing, if you do end up doing it, let us know. We'll just feel happy about it. That's the only thing.
Yep. Thank you.
I had one question. So actually two questions really. The first is about the geospatial data itself. Where do you find the source for it? And the second is more about, so we have these new geospatial data guidelines that have been given out by the government of India. How does this help or hurt data collection efforts, or does it even affect it at all?
So are you asking what software we are using for the spatial data? Is that what you're asking?
No, Pratima, I was asking specifically where the maps came from, because whenever we look out for maps, right, so it's very hard to find this geospatial information.
So this is something that we have done on the ground. So it's like primary data. We've actually sent teams on the ground to map the slums, digitize every house. So it's all primary data that we have captured. And even, along with the surveys that have happened on Kobo-Collect or Avni. So all that is integrated then on the GIS software. So what you see is really data which has been really put together by Shelter Associates. And I don't see this running into trouble, because before we start any survey, we ensure that the urban local bodies are taken into confidence. We have a memorandum of understanding with them, which very clearly states, what are their roles and what are our roles. And one of the things that I would like to say is that validation of that data is something that they agreed to do through the MOU. They also have agreed to link their website to our website. So you'll find that this data, which is in the public domain through our website, has been linked to almost every city's website where we've done these surveys. So because we take them into confidence, we take the councillors into confidence. We also have additionally a letter issued by the urban local body, which helps us conduct these surveys, just in case anybody from the community asks us questions or want to verify that this is a government-backed kind of survey. Then we always produce that letter which the urban local body gives us. So I don't think there should be any issues even in the days to come, because we make sure that all the stakeholders are very aware of it.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so that was a lot of information, and It's almost time. So we have one more piece left, which is the demo of the new features that have come in the past month. Vinod is a developer in within Samanvay on the Avni team, who will be going through the a demonstration of all the new features that have come up. Vinod, over to you.
Thank you, Vinay. So is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'll be talking about these three features: approval workflow, phone number verification, and draft save. One by one, we'll see the demo, the use case, and how it is used in Avni. So let's see about the approval workflow. So basically, we know that Avni is a data collection platform, and data integrity is very important for us. We already have some rules which provide all the data validation whenever a user is collecting the data from the field to ensure that whatever goes in the server is correct. But there are some cases where basically some human is required to verify the data. And in that case, this approval workflow comes in. So what basically happens is whenever any form is filled by a field user, it goes to a pending list. And that pending list is available to the reviewer, where a reviewer will review all the data that is filled by that field user, and they can either approve it or reject it. Whenever they are rejecting any form, they also provide the rejection comment so that whenever user tries to correct the data, they can correct it according to the comment which is provided. So once the user corrects the data and saves it, then again it goes to the reviewer for the review, and the process continues until the reviewer basically is satisfied with all the data whichever is collected is correct, and finally they can approve it. So basically this ensures that the data, the approved data is correct. Also, so this was about the approval workflow, and so we have the privileges on this entire workflow, so we can control which all users will approve, reject it, and who all users will basically edit it based on the rejected forms. So this was about the approval workflow. So we already know that we have a default dashboard that Avni comes with in the home page. So but this doesn't quite work with this approval workflow, because a reviewer wants to see the list of all the forms which are pending, and similarly a field user who is waiting for his forms forms from the approver. So he wants to see the list of all the rejected forms or whatever is approved. So right now we had this this default dashboard which shows whatever is scheduled or overdue, etc. So what we have, so we talked about the custom dashboard in our previous webinar, and what we have done is now you can basically create a custom dashboard and mark that dashboard as primary. So it will start showing up in the home screen of Avni. So what it does is the user don't have to navigate all over to the custom dashboard. They will see their work, whatever the work they have to do in their home screen, and they can start doing it. Also, what you can do is, so if suppose you have multiple dashboards in your organization, so you can control like what all users this dashboard will be visible. So that also you can do using the privileges and permissions. So let's jump into the demo and see how this whole approval workflow works. And also let's see the new fresh dashboard that Avni has now for this approval workflow. So this is the custom dashboard that we have. So you can see these are the approval statistics that shows up here, which shows how many forms are in pending, rejected, and approved state. And then we have the subject overview and last 24 hours statistics. So these are from the default dashboard that we had earlier. So let's register one individual. So right now, if you see, we had eight pending forms. So whenever I'll create a form, I'll fill a form, it will basically go to the pending list. So I'll call Avni demo. Let's call it Avni demo person. And let's give some father's name and some random Aadhaar ID here. And let's save it. Okay, so now if I go to my dashboard, so I see my count has increased to 1. And if I go to this pending list, so I get to see the Avni demo over here. So this is basically the reviewer's workflow. So they can basically they will review this thing. They will see whatever the information is filled here. And once they are satisfied with this information, they can approve it. So first, let's reject this, and let's say father's name is wrong. Okay, and let's confirm it. So now it no longer shows in this pending list, and I can basically go to the rejected list. So it will be here. So Avni demo shows up here. So this is the field workers workflow. So they will see whatever the forms are rejected. Once they sync it, they will see that this form is rejected. They will see the rejection note. Okay, the father's name is wrong, and they will start editing it. So once they go to the screen, right? So now let's say that they give the correct father name here, right? So, and they click on next. Now, whenever they will save it, so it asks you whether you have done all the corrections and you want to send this form again for the review. So only when you click yes, then it will resend the form to the reviewer for the review. So let's click on yes. And if you go to the home page, so I should start seeing up in here, basically again. So I've done all the corrections. So the reviewer sees that, okay, so now the father name is correct and he can approve it. So once this form is approved, okay, so it doesn't show up in the pending and it will start showing up in the approved. So this is the entire workflow, and in the approved list, I don't have any actions. So you can, of course, view the details and the whatever the information is filled. So this is how the entire workflow works. And it ensures that the data, whatever is approved, is correct. So yeah, this was all about the approval workflow. Is there any questions on this?
In the interest of time, can we move on to the next, because we're already like 4 minutes late?
Sure, yeah. So the next thing related to the data quality is the phone number verification. So there are some organizations where phone number is the correct phone number is very useful in some of the organizations. So although we have the rules, we have the regex rule where we give 10-digit validation, but sometimes what happens is due to the field user's mistake, the last digit might get typed wrongly. So in that case, like Avni provides the OTP verification, which ensures that whatever the mobile number is entered by the field user gets verified and is stored correctly. So we'll see how basically in Avni we do that. So we'll register another individual. And so there is a phone number field here. So what I'll do is I'll basically use this online service to get. So what it does is that it provides you some phone number, and you can basically track the messages to that number. So I'll use that. So I will paste this mobile number here. Okay, so it says phone number unverified, and once I click on next, it asks me the OTP. So let's wait for OTP to show up here. Okay, let me give mine. Okay, so I have received the OTP. It's 4882. So basically, I type 4883, and if I say verify OTP, so it says OTP not match. And so let me give the correct one. It's 4882. Okay, so once I verify it, so it says OTP verified, and so you can see this is verified, and I can save it. So every time the phone number which is not verified, so you can see it from here, and as well as from the reports, what all phone numbers are not verified, and you can like verify it later. Also because this is an offline app, so we have taken into account the cases when the internet is not available in the field. So in that case, we allow a user to bypass the OTP verification, and they can like edit the form at some point in time later to verify it. Okay, so this was all about the phone number verification. So let's take all the questions together. The next thing is the draft save. So in Avni, we have the forms, right? But there are cases. There might be some cases when a field user visits a home and only the half information is available, like some head of the family is not there at that time, and they are not able to fill the entire form. So in that case, they don't want to lose whatever they have filled. So using this draft save, and also like if the form is too long and it cannot be filled in one go by a field user, in that case also what we provide is we auto save the form on every next. So user can revisit all those drafts, and they can fill the information whenever it is available. So right now this feature is done for the registration. So whenever you are registering any subject, so you can in a half you can basically save it as a draft. So let me show you that. So I click on register, and let's again register an individual, but okay, let's call it demo 3 this time. And let's click on next, and let's then press home. Okay, so I have just filled one page, right? So as you can see, this comes up as a draft. And when I click on this, so all the information that I filled in the first page is still there. I can continue with my second page and save the form. So yeah, so this is how the draft works. So yeah, any questions on any of these features?
There's one question by Naveen. Is there a limit for draft save?
No, Naveen, right now we don't have a limit. So what we have done is, if that draft is untouched for the 30 days, we auto delete it, but you can have as many drafts as you want.
Thanks, Vinod, for the presentation, and thank you everyone who's attending right now. This has gone over like 15 minutes over, and I apologize for the delay, but thank you for hanging on. I hope the session was useful. We will come back next time, next month. So we plan to do these sessions every month, and by the end of, so it'll usually be the end of next month. Next month we'll probably have somebody else talk about a different topic related to Avni, but something else that would be useful to everyone. We will send an email for feedback as well as the recording for session. Thanks a lot for attending.
Thank you. Thank you, Avni team, for inviting us and giving us.
Thanks, Smita, Pratima, and Amar. Thanks a lot for sharing your experience and case study. I think this was generally very helpful, I think, and thanks everyone, I think, for attending.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Arjun.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.